What if the suffering of Christ didn't end on the cross? What if, centuries later, someone else began to feel it again? Not in metaphor, but in flesh. In the quiet town of Lucca, Italy, a young woman lived a life so hidden, so ordinary, that no one expected what would happen next. Until the wounds appeared. Hands, feet, side. The exact marks of crucifixion. She wasn't a nun. She wasn't famous. She wasn't even believed at first. But her name would echo through history. Gemma Galgani, the mystic who lived the Passion of Christ. Before we begin, if stories like this move your spirit, I'll take a moment to like this video. It helps share these powerful testimonies with others. To understand Gemma, you have to understand the world she was born into. Italy, late 1800s. A place where faith wasn't just something people practiced. It was something they lived. Church bells marked time. Prayer shaped daily life. And suffering was often seen not as something meaningless, but as something that could bring a person closer to God. It was in this world that Gemma entered, quietly. No prophecy, no signs in the sky. Just a child born into a family that had no idea what was coming. As a child, Gemma was like many others, gentle, quiet, but there was something different. While other children played, she was drawn to stillness, to prayer, to something she didn't yet understand. Her mother noticed it first, a depth in her daughter that didn't belong to her age. She would often find Gemma not just praying, but completely absorbed in it, as if she wasn't alone. But peace rarely lasts long, and for Gemma, loss came early. Her mother, the one who nurtured her faith, began to fade. Illness took hold, slowly, painfully, and there was nothing anyone could do. Imagine being a child, watching the person who taught you how to love slowly disappear. Night after night, Gemma prayed, not for miracles, but simply for her mother to stay. But some prayers are answered differently. The day her mother died, something inside Gemma changed forever. After her mother's death, life didn't just become difficult. It became heavy. Her father struggled. The family fell into financial hardship. And one by one, the stability she once knew disappeared. But something unusual began to grow in Gemma. Not anger, not rebellion, but a quiet, almost unsettling acceptance of suffering, as if she saw meaning in it, even when others couldn't. And this was only the beginning, because what would happen next would push her far beyond grief into something that even doctors couldn't explain. If losing her mother was the first fracture, what came next shattered everything. Gemma's father, the last pillar holding her world together, began to fall. Debt closed in. Stress consumed him. And before long, he too was gone. Just like that, Gemma was no longer just grieving. She was alone. No stability, no security, only uncertainty and silence. But it wasn't just her circumstances that changed. Her body began to change too. It started quietly, a weakness that wouldn't go away, then pain, then exhaustion that no amount of rest could fix. Doctors came, examined her, prescribed what they could, But nothing worked. Day by day, her condition worsened, until eventually, Gemma was confined to her bed, unable to move, unable to live the life she once knew. Imagine being trapped in your own body, watching the world continue without you. And yet, this was not the most extraordinary part of her suffering, because in the stillness of that room, something began to happen. One night, as the pain reached its peak, Gemma claimed she was no longer alone, not in imagination, not in a dream, but in a presence that felt more real than anything she had ever known. She would later describe it as her guardian angel, watching over her, speaking to her, guiding her through the suffering. At first, she questioned it, doubted it, but the encounters continued, again and again and again. And slowly, fear turned into something else, comfort. Then, something happened that no one could explain. The illness, the one that had kept her imprisoned, began to disappear. Not slowly, but suddenly. Strength returned, movement returned, life returned. Doctors were stunned. There was no medical explanation, no logical reason, just a recovery that shouldn't have been possible. But for Gemma, the healing was not the miracle. The miracle was what came with it. Because from that moment on, the visions didn't stop. They grew stronger, clearer, more intense, until one day she claimed she saw him, not in symbol, not in thought, but face to face. And what happened after that encounter would change her life forever and leave behind a mystery that still hasn't been fully explained, even today. Her encounter was not just a vision, it was an invitation. An invitation not to comfort, but to suffering. According to her writings, Christ asked her to share in his pain, to walk not beside him, but within his passion. And here is what makes her story so difficult to understand. She didn't resist. She didn't run. She said yes. And then it happened. One evening, during prayer, her body began to react, not gently, but violently. A pain, sharp, piercing, overwhelming, as if something unseen was happening beneath the surface. Her hands began to burn, her feet the same. And then the wounds appeared, the exact marks of crucifixion. This was not symbolic suffering. This was physical, visible, real, the stigmata. And it didn't happen once. It returned again and again, every week, as if her body had become a living reflection of Good Friday. But what makes this even more remarkable is what she did next. She hid it, covered the wounds, avoided attention, because for Gemma, this was never about being seen. It was about union, a connection so deep that it cost her everything. Her life, though extraordinary, was short. The same suffering she embraced slowly consumed her, until one day it ended, quietly, without spectacle, without recognition, just a soul returning to the one she loved. Today, her story lives on, not as proof, not as argument, but as a mystery, one that invites us to ask how far faith can truly go. Saint Gemma Galgani. reminds us that belief is not always comfortable, not always easy, but sometimes it is powerful enough to transform suffering into something sacred. If this story moved you, take a moment to like this video, share it with someone who needs it, and subscribe for more stories that builds faith, talk about mystery, and the extraordinary lives of the saints.